So that's what I'm going to do. So I've got this lined up. This ghost is off, but you could see this isn't going to touch this. This isn't going to stitch into this ghost or into this stitching here. Everything's fine. And I'll just make sure that this line is parallel with my border. And I'm going to have to that looks about right. And when it's right, let me put this back on the camera. I'll just, oops, let me do it again. So this is kind of parallel there, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it. This looks kind of parallel down here with this seam, somewhat. Okay, and I got tape there, and right here. And that's it. And then this one, this is the hoop template that just helps me to hoop it somewhat straight. I have tape here, real skinny tape, here, here, and down here. This isn't very sticky anymore. But we'll see. It doesn't matter as long as I get close with the hooping, because I always check it with this one anyways, and this one's down good. So, and I have to follow more this left hand vertical line because I redrew it in and it's not straight. So I'll just try to get it as best I can, lining up my crosshairs. And when I put this on, I kind of check to see if one of my lines is parallel to the seam and so on. You know, just to see how good I'm doing. So I got press here and these two. And remember, this tape is on the outside of the ghost template, so that when I lift this one up, I'm not lifting up the ghost template. Ghost template is just slightly smaller than this hoop template. And then the top ring, one thing I forgot to mention, this ghost template is flipped upside down because I'm doing this end. So I have it already saved in my embroidery machine, flipped upside down. And if your design is so big that it won't rotate, all you have to do is go to the screen where you're allowed to flip, and you flip it horizontal and then flip it vertical. It's the same thing as rotating 180. You'll get the same effect. So this inner ring, I have double-sided tape here and here from, you know, say there to there, 1/2 inch, and then here to here, the skinnier one. It's like, I don't know, 1/4 inch or whatever. They go by mils. So I'm just kind of looking at these pins and these lines, and then the center mark and the center mark there in this vertical line. And because these are folded up, it guides me in anyways. And like I said, it doesn't even matter if I'm not perfect. And then I press down, grab my outer ring, or not outer, well yeah, outer ring, left, what do you call this? The knob is on the bottom left. I come in from the table here underneath. It's just easier. And I just slide it under. I lift up, slide it. It's so nice to have a table that's slippery, which is contrary to intuitively you would think, well, no, you're hooping, don't want it to be slippery. Well, yes, you do, because you want to press and get your hoop. See how I'm pressing just on the fabric to get the hoop just where I want it. I'm feeling around. And I'm going to press it. The first place I'm going to press is here because the spring is there. It's easier. So once I feel like I can press this one down, I kind of hold on and push up a little on there. Just give it a little bit of, allowance to go down. I just kind of pushed my body onto the fabric here to get this. I'll walk around and do this one. So I'm going to lift that again, make sure. So I got double-sided tape on that hoop. I just don't want it to be puckering. And you can pull on it a little. I mean, it's not hooped yet. Okay, so we'll go there and so now I'm going to press down until this is parallel with the bottom ring. It'll be about 1/8 of an inch sticking out on the bottom. And here I'm going to grab this and really can't use this thumb. I could use my other thumb. This one is harder. It's always the hardest one. Okay. And now once it's hooped, I can hold the fabric. Take this off. It wasn't that sticky. And now I will, this side doesn't have a lot of fabric. Let me go move the camera. Before I put this in the machine, I have to bring up the design again because, I jogged it and everything. I used the jog buttons. I might have rotated it on the previous hooping. Who knows? So you have to bring it up again. Well, the design is already saved on my RCS unit, so I'm just going to pull it up. If you see the word paused, because I stopped it early so I wouldn't have even the slightest tie off when I was done, even though I don't hardly have one anyways because it's a long jump so I can bury the threads. But if your machine says either paused because I stopped it early, like 2 stitches early, or if it says completed, if you have a Janome MB4 or MB7, then you're on the previous design. So you have to go to open. Mine's in my RCS. EMBF folder. This is the one, it's flipped. This is the regular one where it's not flipped, where I was working from the other end of the machine. This is the one I'm using for the border. Well, for the previous border from the other end of the machine. You'll notice it's 2 different colors. Well, that's because when I did the border, the part that's the excess, I only wanted to stitch the bottom. The top, I didn't stitch. I just skipped it. So this is my first object, and this is what I stitched, because I only needed half of a design. So, and why did I have the whole design in? Well, because I still wanted to keep my crosshair. Whoops, I'm opening the wrong one now. See, there it is. There's the yellow, which is the top, and then the blue, the purple is the bottom. Let me go back. At any rate, I wanted the crosshair to stay as is because I was still going to be using my same ghost template, and I didn't want to have to finagle a new, crosshair and everything. I wanted my center to be the center. I wanted to check my rotation with this template. I just am stitching. I was only stitching the bottom. So, at any rate, now when I get to this one, when I get to the top of this side, the edge of this side, I can't use this. I did it again. I touched it again. I can't use this one because this is not flipped. My design is flipped. See, my top is down here. It's flipped because I'm working on this end. Well, this one is right side up. See, here's my top now. This piece right here is my top right here. So I can't use this one. I just have to redigitize it. So for when I get to the top here. So for anybody who buys this design, I'll have both halves, top and bottom, and left and right. Actually, on this quilt, I don't need to do a halvesy on the left and right. So I may or may not put it in. But at any rate, if anybody needs just the halvesies, just let me know and I'll send it to you. I mean, I have so many sizes for each design that it's just too much for me to make a half design for every, size. So I'd have to make 4 halvesies for each size. And that's just too much right now for me to do. But if somebody needs it, by all means, if you buy the design, I'll make it for you. So, or you could just stitch out the whole design if it's too much work or if it's confusing. But, you'll have to have the whole thing hooped then. So at any rate, let me open the correct design for the 3rd time. So here it is, M1 based, meaning I have basting stitches that come up to the beginning of the design, which makes it easy. You don't have to worry about holding your threads or anything. But it's M1 hoop based, flipped swirl is the name of the design. And this is just M1 base swirl. This is right side up. And this is M1 split bottom swirl. So this is the bottom. They only give you 8 characters. So this is the one I want, the flipped one. It's already flipped. It's already needle assigned. And you can see this funny little stitch starting. That's the basting stitch that goes all the way to the beginning. And then when it ends right here, it jumps over and makes a couple stitches right there. And that's why I always stop it. When it jumps over, I stop the machine because I'm like, well, I don't even want it to make that stitch. And then that's kind of how I know, too, if it says paused or completed or what have you. That helps, too. So, well, if it says completed, you're on the previous one as well. So I always bring up the design before I put the hoop in because I don't want it moving around, with this heavy quilt, because this is pretty heavy right now. So what I do is I kind of push it up in there into the arm, and I realize that these sides here, the sides have to go inside the arms, the sides, and the back has to go up over. And I'll just pull it back, and when it gets to where it needs to be, I kind of push this, and I just get it started. But you got to make sure that this gets pulled up high. So the sides have to be pulled up high and rolled in towards you. And that's really all you have to worry about. As long as the sides are rolled towards you and pulled up high, then this back is pulled up. And then I can just open this up, push it, give this some slack, and go the rest of the way. And just making sure that this is pulled up high enough so that this right here is flat. And there you go. And so now, and I hope I wasn't blocking the camera. So now I pull this back, unroll it a little bit, and make my little canal. And then I'll just accordion fold it again. And there's my little canal right here. Maybe I'll unfold it so I have some weight on here. And there you go. And with that canal there, and you know, with the weight here on the side, and sometimes I can I take the whole side and drape it over the top like that. I just drape it over. Then I have a lot of weight on the top. I have no weight on the bottom because I can drape this either on top or drape it on there. I could drape this back. It doesn't matter because as long as the weight is off here and you have this canal, you're fine. So you don't need no fancy contraptions or anything. I just have this little table. So I think what I will do though is drape it on top, because now I have no weight at all. You can see I have a canal here, and I don't even need it to be that deep, but it's fine. And remember, when the machine goes to the back, that means that this is going to go 4 inches more forward. So I need at least 4 inches between the hoop and the table. This is more than 4 inches, so I should be fine. So there you go. So now I'm ready to check for center, and here's what I forgot to do. I forgot to take the hoop template off because I'm filming and not paying attention. Normally this would come off before I put the hoop in the machine. So I'll just take that off now. And I don't have as much room anymore because this is getting so much bigger, so I don't really have a good spot for the camera anymore. I'll just hold this and take this off. Okay. So the first thing I have to do is check for center. So I come to the right side of the machine. I take my shelf liner and I dial the hand wheel to the left so that this, make sure you can see it, yeah, this take-up lever goes halfway down. Okay, that allows the needle to go all the way down, and I push it down and see where it is. the needle's got to go back about 1 millimeter. So each click is 0.1 millimeters. So I have to go back 10. 10 times 0.1 is 1 millimeter. So back 10 to the right 10. So I'm going to hit this button here. Back. Needle bar's out of position. That's because I did the dialing. So you always hit OK, and then it goes into position. Now 10 back. And 10 to the right, did I say? Okay, then I check it again, so I dial it down, so it's halfway. I'm right on center, so I'm on the center of my crosshair. Now I have to check for rotation, because remember, you can have a design centered, but it could still be rotated. You know, think about it. If you have a rectangle or a square or anything, and say, you know, here's the center of that rectangle or square, well, your needle's in the center, but what if the design is rotated like this? You're going to stitch it out crooked. So remember, you can be in the center and still have a crooked design. That's why we check for rotation. And the only way to check for rotation, the best way, is to have a crosshair as the first object in your design and follow that crosshair and see if that crosshair in the design follows the crosshair on my design template, or my ghost template there. I don't even use the design template anymore because why? You know, you want the ghosts on. They both have a crosshair on them. So anyway, so that's what we do. So I'll just take the camera off to do this. So you could see the crosshair is my first. If I hit this button, you'll see what's going to stitch. Yellow green is the crosshair. So it's highlighted here and it's yellow green there. So we're going to hit our fast forward button and we're going to follow the crosshair. But I want to snap the needle down. But it's not going to stay down because it's still loosey-goosey from me dialing it with the, you know, dialing the hand wheel. So I always just come over here and I'm like, okay, I want to fast forward through this crosshair, so I'm going to hit this F button once to go to the first stitch of the crosshair, and it's going to give me a warning. Needle bar's out of position, so I hit OK. Back moves into position, and then I can hit my fast forward button, but I can snap it down first. Now it'll snap because the needle bar's back into position. So now I'll hit the F button. When I hit it, normally my crosshair starts at the vertical top of my design, but since this design is flipped, it's starting at the bottom. Now I can tell already, I can just tell I don't have to rotate this. If you think of your needle, let me start fast forwarding. See how it's following the crosshair perfectly? If that needle were over here, say to the left of the crosshair, then I would say to myself, okay, well, if that needle was like a spinner on a game board, to get that needle to be vertical, I'd have to rotate that needle or spinner counterclockwise 1 or 2 degrees. But I could tell right away it's fine because it wasn't over here and it wasn't over here. So it's going to go follow straight up. So I don't even have to rotate this one. And I've done so many rotation, you could see it's following it completely straight. So I hooped this one pretty good. Just my center was off. Now when I fast forward now to the design, because we're not stitching the crosshair, remember, it's going to go to the first stitch of this second object, which is the design. So it always does that on this machine. Some machines don't. They'll like, you have to fast forward to the first stitch of that second object. My brother machine is like that, my 600, SE600. But this one's gonna, when I hit this next thread color, it's gonna go to the first stitch of this design. So hit the next thread color. And the first stitch of this design is a basting stitch. You don't see it on my ghost template because I put it in after the fact, but it starts here and it bastes all the way up, comes around here, and then jumps and makes a tie-on. So this loosey-goosey basting stitch is real easy to lift up when we're all done and then bury it. And then it makes a jump at the end for the same purpose so that we can bury it. But they're both still have tie-ons and tie-offs. So this is very secure. It's even more secure than a long armor who doesn't tie off and bury her threads. A lot of them just make a tie-off and snip it. But if it's a show quilt, they bury it. They usually make one or two tie-offs, I believe, and then bury it. Well, this is the same thing, and it's even better because this machine makes a perfect tie-on and tie-off. So at any rate, so that's where it's going to start. So now I can take this off, and it comes off so easy. You know, hold my finger on the fabric so I don't pull it. And I got one in the back here. I'm holding my finger down. Okay. So now it's going to make a loud banging noise because this needle is going to go into position. But make sure, look at how short my thread is. But since my machine is so finely tuned, it's well timed, my check springs are all working great. Even that short a thread, it's fine. I don't lose it. It's just amazing. Well, we'll see. Because since it's snapped down, sometimes I could eat my words. But we'll see. So I'll hit start. Machine starts to run, and it's going to snap up and then snap in. There it goes. Doesn't mid jumps, ties on, and then stitches. So I don't ever have to worry about anything anymore now because this is gonna just stitch out beautifully, and I don't have to worry about getting a clean tie on because it is clean. It's perfectly clean. And I found a really cool way how to get the ending top stitch to the back. You know how people always say, well, just pull on the thread underneath, and then you'll get a loop, and you'll just pull that loop to the back side, and then you'll have both threads. Well, guess what? When you're working with such a finely tuned tie-off with this thread, and it's pretty tight, it's kind of hard to pull on that ending stitch and get a loop. But if you just take your pin, you'll see, and just don't look for the loop, but take your pin to pull the actual bobbin thread. So you're not looking for the loop thread, you're just trying to get the bobbin thread to kind of loosen up. And when you pull on that bobbin thread then pulls the loop. You kind of grab the other end of it. It's kind of cool. I'll see if I can show you when I'm done. You know, it's not like when you're sewing and you've got, you know, on a sewing machine, it's quite a bit easier to just pull on the bobbin thread and you'll find the loop. Not with this. These stitches are tight. So I have the speed at 400. So it made that funny noise when it went over that thick seam, but that's okay. Too bad it didn't stitch a lot in the red. The red is so pretty. The gold thread on the red fabric. So now it's going to come into the center. And it'll make one little curl. And then it'll tie off. And then this is where I hit stop right now. Because all it's going to do, it's going to make a stitch and then make another stitch. And sometimes it actually makes, you know, not that it's hard to get out, it's not, but it's easier just to stop it right here, hit, because I know that's where it's going to go down, hit the thread cutter. Then I can just, you know, this just comes right out, and so you have this long one that you can bury. And this is the one that I was telling you is easy to get with pulling it on the loop. But you don't fish for this on the back. You just loosen the bobbin thread. And I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so now to get it out, you know, it is heavy at this point. But I just lift up. Sorry if I blocked the camera. And I go ahead and I just accordion fold it back. You know, so it gets nice and close. Make sure it comes all the way out and away from the hooks here. I kind of put it in front of the hooks, and then I can just lift that up usually. Of course, when I'm not, and then push these over. And, you know, I could just unhoop it and go to the next hooping right here at the table, but I really enjoy the process. So, and I want to keep track of everything. I don't want to forget anything. So I just like to bring it back, and this is what I do. I have the TV on. I take my table, I spin it around, and the round part of my table, you know, is here, and that's it. And then this is where I work on it now to bury all my threads. So remember, now it's flipped around. So this is where it started. This is the center where it ended. So I just come with my tweezers and I lift up my basting stitches, just like that. And if they feel tight when I go like that, I just take the thread and pull up on it, and that pulls that, and then you can just go like that. Sometimes I take my hand, see if I can do it, and I hold the thread and I pull, and then I flick it and still grab the thread with this hand. So I pull, flick it, and still grab the thread. Pull, flick it, grab. That's if it's really tight, like if I'm going over a thick seam and I can't just slide my tweezer under, or when I get to this point, sometimes it's tight. So now here I am with the top thread at the end here. And so then I'm done with that tweezer. So that's when I take my slotted needle and I usually pull it away from me so that I get the needle right on the stitching, because then I'm I'm familiar enough with this design now that when I feed the needle to the back, it's going to be exactly in the stitching. It's not going to be off to the left or the right. And I'm going to slot it now. Bobbin thread's coming up. I'm going to slot it now and then push it a little, grab some excess. If you push it, that's when the excess comes out, you know. So I'll push it a little, but not all the way, because I just want to check it. And if it's fine, I'll just stay on the back. The needle came right out exactly where I wanted it. So now I'll just stick that there. I just put my finger away from me, twist it all the way, stick my thumb inside, grab the thread, pull the loop, and now I have a loop, and I stick my needle up where the stitching is, 1/4 of an inch away. Well, you stick it through the loop, 1/4 of an inch away from where the threads came out. Pull that. When it's tight, lift the needle out, pull, and now I'll stick the needle not in a hole this time because we want to bury, so it's got to go in a new hole. Sometimes if you go right in where the knot is, you can really get it to knot really well. But sometimes that's hard. You know, you can tell it goes in. Sometimes it doesn't. This time it did go in. You want to go more than 1/4 of an inch away. You don't want your knot to show. And I'm just going to slot it. And then I'm going to check it. When you try to go in right under the actual knot instead of like a stitch away, a lot of times you end up going right through because it's so dense in there. But I did okay this time, I think. But a lot of times I try to go in the next stitch, but halfway through the next stitch and under that stitch. So, but sometimes, I don't know, I'm finding now I kind of like going in the knot. So again, I kind of push it back and then I use my fingernail, I push it forward, grab some slack. And then I usually snap it while it's still doubled up because it seems stronger. And it felt like it snapped in. So I'm pretty confident it's really in there because I went underneath the knot. Like I said, it's not always easy to do that. So then when I cut it, I pull kind of hard, but I don't close the scissors. I leave them open and I kind of like, it looks like I'm closing them, but I really wasn't. I was kind of pushing and cutting it with almost a knife, because you don't want to cut your fabric. So then this is the one up here that I really kind of hope I can get in close. This is kind of cute. Oh, and it figures it's on fabric that is the same color as my thread. If you pull on this, you can kind of see, here's the knot. If I pull on it, okay, did you hear that? It pulled up the top thread, but who can see it? I can't see that. So I just kind of take my pin, my needle, and I go like this. I'm basically trying to get this bobbin thread. You can see there. That's what I'm fishing for, is the bobbin thread. Oh, I didn't get the bobbin thread. I got the top thread. Well, that time I got lucky and got the top thread. Normally it's hard to get the top. Let me pull it back. Because a lot of times what happens is you just want to get the bobbin thread. So here's the bobbin thread. See, I just kind of pricked it a little. And so I could keep pulling this and pulling out the bobbin thread. But if I take the other end of the bobbin thread while my needle has this end and pull up, it pulls out the top thread. So there's the top thread right there. So either way, you can get it out easily, depending on which one fishes out. They're both doable, as you could see. So again, finger away, twist it all the way, thumb in, grab it, loop over, put your needle in, 1/4 of an inch away. Notice I put it wherever the stitching is, because just in case I have to go in over here, I don't want to have one thread be longer than the other while I'm out in this direction, because then it wouldn't bury well. So I'm going to see if I can go in again at the knot and still create a new hole and not puncture the fabric. See, now this one, it's hard for me to get it in there because I'm right in the knot. And if it goes in too easily, then that's when you know you're not in a new hole. So I'm going to go underneath this stitch here, but halfway. Underneath it and half of it. Okay, and I'm going to check it before I slot it. So it looks fine. I don't see any silver. I'll slot it. Sorry, I'll lift it up with my fingernail and slot it. Push it back a little. Grab my fingernail underneath, push it forward, pull out some slack. Oops. And snap it. There. I heard it go in. Okay. And then again, pull on that. And there you go. I usually take it off while the back is facing me. Just easier. It's already here. So, ouch. And then I'll go ahead and carefully peel this off. Okay. And we'll go do this one now. So then it's kind of cool because all I have to do is take this and spin it around, and I'm back in business. And this is already accordion folded. You know, sometimes I think maybe I want a long table, but I don't know. I've got, everybody has their own routine and their own furniture and so on. So, and if you just go like this, and as long as your table is smooth, your batting will just smooth right into place. So, I kind of messed up my accordion fold. This is a heavy quilt. It's like, how big is it? It's like 60 wide by 90, I think. I think that's what it is. Like 60 by 90. So, it's heavy. It ain't no polyester batting. It's that 100% warm and white cotton. I just love warm and white. I don't know why people like the Hobbs, but I did buy some 80/20, but it wasn't Hobbs. I just bought the Pellon. I don't know. Maybe because I was a beginner when I tried Hobbs, so I must be missing something. So then there you go. So then we're ready for the next hooping. And I'll just do the same thing. Boy, normally I have this so easy. I must have messed it up somehow. So, yeah, I don't know what I did. And you think about it, when you think about somebody who does do custom quilting, I mean, it takes them time to do one block. If they're custom quilting that one block, they're doing all kind of intricate work and everything. I mean, it takes them longer than what it took me to do that one block, I think. So anyways, so here we would go, and I would check to see if I need to smooth this out. I really don't need to, but just for the sake of it, I am going to go through. So I'm going to stick this underneath. And usually I'll flip my iron because it's auto shut off. I'll flip it before I put that under if I remember. And of course, while I'm waiting, I can check to see if did I open up the next design or not. I don't know. So I'll look at the screen. It says paused. Well, that means I don't have the new design up. So I'll just go and open it while I'm waiting for the iron. Okay, so it's all ready. I'll just grab the iron and go ahead. So let's see, that goes up a little higher. Let me push this up. So I'll let that cool for a minute. My design is pulled up. While I'm waiting for it to cool, I could check my double-sided tape. And I don't really want to use any of those sprays that they say that makes your hoop sticky. I don't like sprays. I have a hard time breathing, so everything bothers me. And then it gets all over your machine. It gets on your floor. been there, done that over the years with embroidery sprays. I don't use any of that stuff. I'd rather use Elmer's school glue, washable, or double-sided tape or regular tape.